In the beginning of the story, a couple named Alex and Ruby Morrison are shown sitting very sadly in a hospital. They had been trying for many years to have a child, but their wish was not coming true. When their reports come back normal, even the doctor is unable to understand what the problem is. He suggests that maybe Ruby is unable to conceive due to some trauma, so he advises her to let go of the stress and be happy. But happiness seemed to have drifted away from their lives. One night, Ruby tells Alex why not adopt a child. She shows him a card of an orphanage that was left with them at the hospital. Alex was not ready for it because he felt he might not be able to love someone else's child as much. But for Ruby's happiness, he takes her to the orphanage the next day. After filling out the application form, they meet the head of the orphanage, Mrs. Lang. She asks them if they have any other children, a question that makes them emotional. Ruby then reveals that she is unable to conceive due to an accident. As she says this, she starts crying, so Mrs. Lang does not press her further on the details of the accident. She then takes them around the orphanage, where Ruby notices a little boy who looks completely different from the other children. He was dressed like a salesman, wearing a suit and a hat. Seeing Ruby, he starts smiling at her. Mrs. Lang then tells them that all their children are very special and they send them to special homes. She explains that the process of adoption may take some time. As they start to leave, the same boy smiles at Ruby again and waves at her. Ruby smiles back and waves at him before they both go about their tasks. Alex used to own a toy factory, but in the past few years, the demand for his toys had decreased significantly in the market. This led him to run the factory with loans from the bank and struggling to pay his workers' salaries. Ruby also ran a bookstore and had written several books for children, but she had also stopped writing for many years. Today, she closes the store early and returns home. Shortly after, there is a knock on her door. She is surprised to see the same boy from the orphanage standing there. He introduces himself as Eloy and hands Ruby a form, saying that the orphanage authorities have approved his application and Mrs. Lang has sent him to stay here as their son. Inside the house, he asks for tea, but Ruby gives him warm milk according to his age. When she puts on a cartoon channel for him, he changes it to a news channel. Ruby finds the boy very strange, and when she can't understand anything, she calls Alex home. She tells him that she called the orphanage, but no one answered. So now, to know the truth, she takes him with her to the orphanage. On the way, Alex starts talking to Eloy about his business and the economic downturn in the country, leaving him surprised. But the big words coming out of a 7-year-old's mouth endear them both, and they struggle to contain their laughter. When they reach the orphanage, they see Mrs. Lang being taken away in an emergency medical van, and they find out that she suddenly fell ill. The orphanage accountant, Jane, looks at the form and finds it complete. She tells them to keep it with them and that she will contact them once Mrs. Lang is better. Until then, they can keep Eloy with them if they wish. Ruby becomes happy after hearing this, and Alex also starts to take Eloy home with them, but he was not as happy with Ruby's decision. On the way, when they are not talking, Eloy starts singing in the car to break the silence and even asks them to sing along with him. Seeing this, Ruby cannot resist herself from singing, and for the sake of her happiness, Alex also has to sing, because she was looking so happy after many years. At night, when Ruby opens Eloy's suitcase, she finds his suit and tie neatly arranged. Then he comes out of the bathroom and starts explaining to her which toothpaste is better. Ruby is amused to hear such wise words from him, and she starts laughing a lot, telling Alex about it. But he makes an excuse to sleep, so she understands that Alex is not able to accept Eloy as their son. And then she also becomes sad and goes out to sit alone. When Eloy sees her in such deep sadness, he takes out a thick book from the bookshelf and asks her to read it to him. Ruby starts reading a book of children's stories to him. While listening to the book, he asks her to sleep with him tonight. She falls asleep with him on the floor. When she wakes up in the morning, Eloy is watching her with a smile. He tells her that Alex has gone to work very early today. But in reality, he had gone to the bank to take a loan because he had not paid his workers' salaries for the past 2 months. But Alex had already taken a lot of loans, so the bank refuses to give him a loan. When he reaches the factory, he tries to explain to his workers, but embarrassment and anxiety were clearly visible on his face. At home, Eloy asks Ruby about a door that was always closed. She tells him that it is a bathroom, but no one is allowed to go inside. Now, they both go for a walk in a nearby garden, where a man who looks like a beggar starts talking to them and introduces himself as Ports. Ruby starts laughing hearing his strange words, so he asks her for some money and tells them a date while looking at her, which is May 15th, 2007. Hearing this, she asks him how he knows all this. Port says he knows everything because he wanders around here. Saying this, he leaves. Ruby is left astonished watching him. But what happened on May 15th, 2007? The mystery remains. The next day, when the workers do not receive their salaries at the factory, they start leaving their jobs, and only an old worker named Tom stops at his request. In this distress, Alex had also called Ruby and brought her with Eloy here. But when she finds out that Alex had mortgaged their house without telling her, she does not listen to him and angrily goes back home. At home, she talks to Eloy about going to school, but he wants to talk to her about Alex's married life, which was not going well. Listening to Eloy's psychologist-like questions, Ruby first laughs, but then she starts telling him that they both liked each other from school and used to have a lot of fun together. But in the past few years, she couldn't remember when they had spent good times together. The next day, she drops Eloy at school, but during lunchtime, he books a taxi and goes to the factory where no one else is present except him. Alex gets angry upon seeing him and starts to take him back to school. When Eloy calls Alex Dad, he sternly corrects him to call him Alex instead of Dad. But as they leave, when Eloy praises his toys, Alex softens because his toys were not valued in the market. When they reach home, they have to face Ruby's anger. But then a delivery boy arrives with some Chinese food. When they find out that Eloy had ordered the food, they both start smiling. And in this way, Alex also starts to like him now. Before going to sleep at night, Ruby sees that Alex has taken out a teddy bear from the locked bathroom. So she immediately takes it away from him and sternly instructs him never to go into that room again. Late at night, Eloy quietly sneaks out of the house and reaches the same garden nearby, where he wakes up Mr. Ports, who was sleeping on a bench. Port starts talking to him about his new family, to which Eloy says that they both take good care of him, but he does not like going to school every day. Ports tells him that he will have to be patient because every task takes some time. After their strange conversation, the next day it is shown that in the factory, a businessman named Zone Burns comes to meet Alex, who used to buy goods from his factory. But this time he came to say that he cannot buy his goods anymore because in this recession, his old model toys are not selling. He offers him two options: either sell his factory to him or come up with a new idea. This troubles Alex a lot because he had invested a lot of money in stocking up toys in the factory. But if no one buys these toys, he will be completely ruined. Today, he goes to his father's grave to apologize because the factory that he had built on his own 50 years ago, he had ruined in the past few years. He confesses that he had ruined everything in the past few years. Mr. Ports overhears all this and listens to him behind. He comes to him and shows him the roses he is planting on the grave, and then leaves from there. But Alex understands what he was trying to tell him. So instead of giving up, he tries to get out of this trouble once again, and now he does not even stop Eloy from coming to the factory. One day, he starts asking him about a poster in his office. Alex tells him that it is a place called Legoland where he wanted to go a few years ago but has not had the time to go there yet. Now he starts showing him the toys made in his factory and says that at one time all these toys were very famous. But nowadays, with the arrival of electronic toys in the market, the demand for his toys has decreased. Eloy says that electronic toys are not good for children and their craze will not last long. Alex is happy to hear this and gives him a Russian doll that has 5 dolls inside. The next day, Eloy lies to Ruby that Alex is going to take them somewhere for a walk today, and he takes them to the factory. Alex is found sleeping on the office desk, so today he cannot even make an excuse for work and has to go with them. But Eloy still does not tell them where they are going. He keeps telling them the way from the online map, but when they reach a place, he realizes that he has not brought them anywhere else but to the place that Alex had told him about yesterday. Upon entering, Eloy first rides a small train and forcefully makes them sit with him. At first, Alex seems as if he is not feeling good about being here, but how long can he hold himself back? He shouts loudly while racing with a scooter, and after the race, when Eloy receives his mini driving license, he also starts asking for his and Ruby's driving licenses like children. After having a lot of fun with Eloy, he also has fun with Ruby while eating ice cream. Finally, they do roller skating, which Alex and Ruby did on their first meeting before marriage. After that, when they return home, Eloy asks Alex to tell him a story today. Today, Alex also tells him a story with great interest like a good father, and then goes to Ruby. Eloy is very happy to see them so close to each other. The next morning, he gets up early and starts playing a tune on the piano, which was written on a paper. Upon hearing this tune, Alex and Ruby quickly come downstairs as if they were hoping someone else would be there. When asked by Eloy, Ruby tells him that Alex used to teach their son Samuel this tune. Their son was surprised to see them so close and decides to tell them everything today. Ruby opens a photo album and starts telling him about their son Samuel, and says that today he would have been as big as he was, trying to hold back her tears. She tells him about Samuel's first football match and his favorite ice cream. She says he was her angel, her whole world was in him. While saying this, her voice becomes heavy. After that, she takes him to the room she always kept locked. This was Samuel's bedroom, which he had kept the same way. Eloy asks him what happened. Looking down from the window, Ruby starts telling him that 2 years ago when he was returning home after playing his football match, he had an accident with a car, after which their lives were not the same as before. Now she takes him to Samuel's grave. In Alex's hand is the same teddy bear that had caused Ruby to scold Alex one day. Alex says that Samuel used to sleep with him every night. And even today, every morning when he wakes up, it feels as if he is still in that room. While saying this, Alex breaks down and tearfully says that he feels as if a big hole has been created in his heart that can never be filled. In this way, Alex and Ruby, who had been living with the pain in their hearts for the past 2 years, come out with tears and hug each other for a long time. Mr. Ports, standing a little distance away, also watches all this. Now at home, Ruby tells Alex that they should now clean this room. Alex also takes a deep breath and agrees to it. Late at night, he goes to the garden and upon seeing a firefly, he goes to Mr. Ports and starts talking to him. Alex recognizes him and now starts talking to him with interest. Mr. Ports asks him today if he believes in God. Alex says how can he believe in something that ruins lives? Ports says maybe this is a test. Then he thinks for a moment and says that the biggest problem with humans is that they always live in the past and worry about the future. He says that memories should have their place in life, but to be happy, it is very important to live in the present and connect with it. Alex is deeply affected by Mr. Port's words, and the next day, he starts talking about it even on the breakfast table. Eloy opens his Russian doll and says that Mr. Ports is like a mystery box that no one knows what is inside. Suddenly, upon hearing this, Alex's eyes light up and he says that he has a new idea in his mind. Now he immediately goes to the factory with Eloy to work on a new design. After making the design, he shows it to Eloy every time, but he fails many designs. Still, Alex continues to make efforts consistently, and finally, Eloy likes a design. After that, Alex prepares a wooden box with that design and packs 5 different types of toys from his factory in it. Now, Alex calls some businessmen from the toy industry, including John Byrne, to show them his new product. The time comes for the presentation, where his oldest worker, Tom, also joins him. However, Alex sends Eloy inside for the presentation in his place and stands outside to watch everything. Upon seeing a 7-year-old boy, all the businessmen start laughing, thinking it's a joke. But Eloy confidently tells them that he is here to present on behalf of Alex. Saying this, he removes the curtain from the box, which has a mystery box written on it with a question mark. John Byrne is the first to ask what toys are inside the box. Eloy says that if he tells them, then who will call it a mystery box, which no one understands. But another businessman understands Eloy's point and says that people will buy it even without knowing what toys are inside because everyone loves a mystery. He says that more than half the excitement and joy come from buying and opening it. Upon hearing this, a Japanese businessman immediately places an order for 30,000 boxes. And then one by one, everyone starts placing their orders. Seeing this, Alex also enters, and everyone praises him for his unique work. Alex is very happy today and enjoys this moment with his family. At night, while playing with Eloy in the garden, he tells him that if he wants, he can call him Dad. Hearing this, both Eloy and Ruby become happy. Tonight, Eloy goes to the garden again and meets Mr. Ports. Ports is very happy to hear about Alex's success and whispers something in his ear. The next day, Alex, along with Eloy and Ruby, come to the garden and invite Mr. Ports to their home for Christmas. On Christmas, it is shown that the mystery box becomes a huge success in the market and children go crazy over it. Alex faces no trouble in meeting the market demand because he only needs to make boxes in the factory and he already had a good stock of toys. At night, Mr. Ports comes to their home, and upon Alex's request, he cleans up and comes out of the bathroom. Now they all have dinner together and have a lot of fun playing a game. Mr. Ports is very happy to see them laughing and playing like this. When he is about to leave, Ruby hands him some money, but Ports refuses to take it. She says that before spending life on the streets, he must have been someone's beloved son, and maybe he could have been their own son. After Mr. Ports leaves, she goes to Eloy's room to tuck him in. Eloy asks her if she believes in angels. Jubilee doesn't give a specific answer because something else was on her mind at that moment. She goes to Alex and gives him a gift. Alex opens it and finds out that it's not something else but a pregnancy test, which he had given up hope on. It means she was going to become a mother. Upon hearing this news, Alex's happiness knows no bounds, and he hugs Ruby tightly. He wants to share this news with Eloy. However, Ruby tells him that Eloy must have fallen asleep, but she had no idea that he had been watching them from above for a long time. The next morning, Alex goes upstairs to tell them the good news, but they are not there. Instead, there is a letter with both their names on the bed. Below, a call comes from the accountant of the orphanage, Jin, who tells Ruby that Mrs. Lane has recovered and returned from the hospital. She then tells her that she had shown that form to Mrs. Lane, but there was never a child named Eloy in their orphanage, and now there is no photo of that child on the form. Hearing this, Ruby drops the coffee glass from her hand in shock. She is surprised and troubled, and she collapses on a desk, taking out Eloy's Legoland Mini driving license to see, but there is no photo on it either. Now everything starts to make sense to her that Eloy and Mr. Ports were angels in the form of humans who had come to bring happiness back into their shattered lives. She remembers that the card she left at the hospital was not for someone else, but for Mr. Ports. Now she goes upstairs and reads Eloy's long letter, where he had asked them to forget all the memories of their son Samuel and live their life with good memories. Reading it, she starts crying and reads the rest of the letter, where he mentioned their love for each other and made a prediction that they would have a daughter. The movie ends with Alex and Ruby being very happy with their little daughter. And one day, Ruby feels as if Eloy has come back to meet them, but as soon as she looks at him, he smiles and disappears. With this, the movie ends. Subscribe for more such stories in the future.